Factsverse presents Inventions that were accidentally discovered. Number 1. The microwave. A man named Percy Spencer was in the Navy during World War I. After the war, he started working as an engineer and was known to be an electronics genius. In 1945, he was playing around with a magnetron that was used to emit microwaves. It was the inside of a radar array. When he was playing around with it, he felt the heat on his pants. In his pocket, he had a chocolate bar. When he reached in to grab it, he realized that the gadget had melted it. Immediately after this happened, he got the idea for the microwave oven. Today, it's one of the biggest cooking conveniences the world has ever seen. Before this invention, you would only find cooking directions for an oven on your food packaging. Today, labels contain cooking directions for an oven and a microwave. Thank you, Percy! Number 2. Saccharin, the artificial sweetener. If you've ever seen the pink packages of Sweet and Low on the tables at restaurants, you should know that it was invented by mistake. In 1879, two chemists, Konstantin Fahlberg and Ira Remsen, were working in the lab at Johns Hopkins University. They got hungry and decided to have something to eat. Before eating, Fahlberg forgot to wash his hands. In many chemistry labs, this could have led to his ultimate death. In this case, it led to an amazing invention. When he tasted the food on his fingers, he realized he'd created an artificial sweetener. Both Fahlberg and Remsen published their findings together. However, it was only Fahlberg whose name was on the incredibly lucrative patent. Today, the pink packets are found everywhere. When news of the Fahlberg's windfall broke, Remsen stated, "Fahlberg is a scoundrel. It nauseates me to hear my name mentioned in the same breath with him." Number 3. The Slinky. Another accidental invention discovered by an engineer in the Navy. In 1943, a man named Richard James was trying to figure out a way to use springs to keep the sensitive instruments aboard ships from rocking so much that they break. He was working with a prototype and he knocked it over. Well, rather than the prototype crashing onto the floor, it sprang gracefully downward and then landed straight up. Once he saw this happen, he tried pushing the prototype down the stairs, and it climbed right down and landed right side up again. He realized that this would make a better toy than a spring for sensitive instruments. He called it the Slinky, and it became one of the most popular toys in the world. Over the years, over 300 million Slinkies have been sold worldwide. Unfortunately, he did not try to come up with a way to keep the Slinky from getting twisted up. Number 4. Play-Doh. The Slinky isn't the only toy that was invented by accident. Play-Doh was too. Originally, the makers of Play-Doh were trying to make a cleaning product. It was originally supposed to be a type of paste used to treat dirty wallpaper. Well, soon after the company went under and Kutal Products took over and kept them from going bankrupt. When Kutal stepped in, they realized that the paste didn't really work great for removing stains from wallpaper. However, school-age kids were using it to create arts and crafts projects and Christmas ornaments. Kutal soon realized that they could actually make money on this wallpaper paste if they changed a few things. First, they removed the compound's cleanser. Next, they added color to the paste and a fresh scent. This miraculous invention became one of the most popular toys of all time, and it saved the company from failure. Today, it still remains one of the greatest toys on the market. Number 5. Superglue. In 1942, a man named Dr. Harry Coover worked for Eastman Kodak Laboratories. He was trying to create a new precision gun sight with a substance that he created called cyanoacrylate. Unfortunately, his invention didn't work because it stuck to just about everything. He was so frustrated he gave up. About 6 years later, he was working on an experiment to create a new design for an airplane canopy. He decided to try the cyanoacrylate again, and it failed again. This time, however, he had an idea. He realized that this substance had an extremely strong bond and you didn't need any type of heat to make it stick. He and his team started sticking various objects together to see how well they would stick, and he found it would stick to just about anything. He decided to patent his discovery, and in 1958, 16 years after he created the substance, it was sold on the store shelves as superglue. Number 6. Teflon. The next time you make an omelet and it doesn't stick to your frying pan, you can thank a man named Roy Plunkett. He was working as a chemist in 1938, and he was trying to invent a new variety of chlorofluorocarbons, also known as CFCs. He put his experiment in a refrigeration chamber, and when he went back to check on it, he realized that his experiment had failed. However, he created something even better. The canister was supposed to be filled with gas. However, the substance had vanished, leaving behind only white flakes. While being a scientist who is naturally curious, he wanted to know more about the chemical bits, and he began to work on additional experiments. He realized that the new substance was a great lubricant with a very high melting point. At first, his invention, Teflon, was used for military gear. Today, it's applied to your nonstick cookware, making cooking a lot easier. Number 7. The pacemaker. The pacemaker was invented by accident by Wilson Greatbatch. At the time, he was working as an assistant professor at the University of Buffalo. He was working on a project for a heart-recording prototype. Rather than grabbing a 10,000 OHM resistor from a box, he grabbed a 1 mega OHM variety. The circuit on the device that he accidentally grabbed would send a current for 1.8 milliseconds. Then it would pause. It was the same way that a heart beats. When he realized this, he figured that the current could create a pulse to override an imperfect heartbeat for people with heart problems. Before this invention, the pacemaker was the same size as a television. It had to be attached to the patient outside of the body. This amazing discovery made it possible for the pacemaker to be put inside a person's chest so they would no longer be attached to a giant machine. It's one of the greatest inventions that was accidentally discovered, and it changed the face of medicine forever. Number 8. Velcro. Velcro was created by a man and his dog. A Swiss engineer named George de Mestral and his dog were out hunting. While he was walking, he became very aggravated when burrs kept sticking to his dog's fur and his socks. He got home and looked at the burrs under a microscope. He realized that they were actually made of little tiny hooks that made it possible for them to stick to things. And that gave him an idea. He started experimenting with a variety of textiles to recreate burrs for the purpose of sticking things together. He eventually settled on nylon, and it wasn't until 20 years later that NASA realized how great Velcro was and it finally caught on. Number 9. The X-ray. The X-ray is one of the greatest inventions of all time, and it was created by accident. In 1895, a German physician named Wilhelm Röntgen was performing a routine experiment using cathode rays. During the experiment, he noticed that there was a piece of fluorescent cardboard that was lighting up across the room. There was a thick screen between the machine that he was using and the piece of cardboard. This showed him that particles of light could pass through solid objects using this device. He was amazed by this, and he realized that images could be produced with his radiation machine. To test his theory, he performed the first X-ray ever. It was of his wife's hand, and he was able to see each of her bones. This discovery changed medicine, and it made it possible for doctors to do the unbelievable. Number 10. Coca-Cola. In 1886, a pharmacist named John Pemberton invented Pemberton's French wine coca. It was an alcoholic remedy that was said to cure headaches. It was also a nerve tonic and a stimulant. When the Prohibition legislation passed in his hometown of Georgia, he changed his formula a bit, making it a non-alcoholic variation. Since he could no longer use alcohol, he decided to add carbonation to his formula, believing that the bubbles would be a great alternative to alcohol. Sadly, Pemberton died before he could make any money off of his drink, but a man named Asa Griggs picked up where he left off. He used Pemberton's formula and started the Coca-Cola Company. He started an aggressive advertising campaign all across the country, and soon Coca-Cola was one of the most popular soft drinks available. Today, it still remains one of the best-selling drinks in history. And here's a bonus invention for you – popsicles. People today, young and old, love popsicles. What you might not know, though, is that the popsicle was invented by an 11-year-old boy named Frank Epperson in California. He was sitting outside on a cold night, and he left powdered soda water with a stir stick on his porch. Well, overnight, the soda water froze. He thought that it was a great little treat, and he often made them for himself on purpose after that. About 17 years later, he started selling his ice pops around the neighborhood. When people gave them rave reviews, he started selling his pops at amusement parks. The next year, he filed a patent for the pop. When he was desperate for money, he sold the patent to the Joe Low Company, which he says he regretted. Today, the company sells their popsicles in 26 different flavors. Of all the inventions that were created by accident, this one is quite possibly the tastiest. Also, the inventor is the youngest person to ever accidentally invent something. Subscribe for more